All right, what I've done is I've launched the Epic Games Launcher. I've chosen my specific type that I wanted to work inside of. Um, and now I've gone over to the new project browser. What I'm going to do is third person level. I like to have a character running around inside it. We're going to go with desktop console, maximum quality, and I'm going to say let's put starter content into the map. Now I have specified a file location, which is on my D drive, an ACC folder. Inside there is where I put all of my projects, and I'm going to call this one Spring 20, and then just hit create project. So Unreal is now going to go through and create a project. You'll see it's going to pop open this window. Um, it's going to go through. It's going pretty quick, so maybe I'll just let that keep running here for a second. Basically, what it's doing is it's copying everything onto my hard drive in that specific location. All right, and so we're just going to go ahead and pause it while it's doing that. Okay, here Unreal has loaded up for me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dismiss the new plugins available over here. All right, well, let's kind of talk about it. This is your viewport. You can play inside the viewport and click escape. If you just click with the left mouse button and drag it across, forward and back, that allows you to move through space. If you hold both mouse buttons, that allows you to pan. The right mouse button will just kind of orbit you around, kind of like the same the left one. And that just moves you around here through space. Now you can just click on things and actually just hit delete on your keyboard. Third person, this question mark you don't need. You can even delete these walls, these little pieces here. You don't need any of this stuff. Now, if I grab the floor, you see it's got this nice little gizmo. Right up here, you have move, rotate, scale, and then you have your axis, which is based off of world or object. I'm going to come over here. This is my grid. Right, currently it's set to 10 units. If I set it to 500, then anything I move has to be in increments of 500. You'll see that what that did was that broke the lighting. It says lighting needs to be rebuilt. I'm going to hit escape so I'm not selecting anything. You don't need to worry about broken lighting. It's really not a problem. Okay, you don't want to delete the camera or the character. You need those. Over here is the world outliner. It lists everything in the world. Over here, these are your different modes you can work in, like foliage editor, landscape, and painting. I'm going to go over here in modes. There's things you can add, like if you want to add a light. All right, let's not do that for now, though. We're going to keep this simple. We're going to come to the content browser. Now, it's important, and I want to make sure everybody's doing this, is to click on this to show the content folder. I'm going to come up here to the top. Now inside here, there's different elements related to the game stored inside these folders. This is where you're going to bring the elements that you made into the game. So every time you bring something in, you want to make a new folder. So I'm going to right click, new folder, and I'm going to call vendor. And then I'm going to click on that folder so I'm actually inside it. So we had made vendor stalls. We're going to bring those into the game. So I'm going to click on the import button now that I'm in vendor. And I need to navigate to the location where that's stored. Now that's on my desktop in my demos folder under post, and then I actually made a vendor stall subfolder. So inside here you can see these different files. And so to start with, I'm just going to click on the FBX. So if I do details, you can see that this is a vendor stall FBX file. I'm going to click on that and say open and just bring that in to start with. Now when we first bring in an asset, we need to change some of these default import options. So I'm going to turn off auto generate collision. I'm going to click this show advanced option, and there's some things I want to turn off. Turn off generate light map UVs. Make sure combine meshes is off. I'm going to scroll down here to the a little bit lower where it says material. All right, and so we want to turn off import textures, and you want to say do not create a material. All right, because we're going to bring in our objects, and then we're going to bring in our textures and make our own materials. And so now we're going to say import. Okay, that brought in my vendor stall. If I click and drag, that drops it right in here in the map. See how it snaps down? It's because I have that 500 on. So let's just delete it. And we'll just set this to, well, actually just turn that off. So that now when it comes in, it'll just sit wherever. And we can switch to rotate. We can rotate it around. We can move it around inside the world. Okay. So that's sort of my little vendor stall. Now, how do we get our textures on it? Well, we're going to need to import those. So let's click import. And so I need to bring in all of these textures for the tarp and say open. So now all these are coming in. There's all my textures. I right click and I say new material, M underscore tarp. Right, and now if I double click on that, that's going to open up a new window, which is the material for my tarp. And now you see how this kind of, oops, trying to just float that over there. It looks very much like 3ds Max in that you have your material and then you're going to bring in your elements. So let's bring in our opacity. Let's bring in our normal map. We're going to bring in our base color. And then there's our ambient occlusion, our roughness, and our metallic. That's a pack texture. So I'm going to double click on that guy, which brings open a texture viewer. Now, this is one of those where each different channel, RG and B, are used for different things. And so there's this option over here under texture for where it says sRGB. And if you hover, it says this should be unchecked if using alpha channels individually as masks. And that's what we're doing. And so we need to turn that off for any texture that is set up to do that, to use those individual masks. So we'll save that now. And I'm just going to close that guy. And now we can drag him in. So let's make this full screen. All right, so here's my material. So this guy, he was my base color. So base color is a full color map. So RG and B all get plugged into base color. This one here, this is my normal. And so that's, again, it's a full color map. We're going to plug all of those. Oops. Plug all those into normal. All right, there they go. Get plugged right in there. Now, let's talk about these other two. So opacity, right? Or opacity, you see that opacity and opacity mask are both grayed out. So we'll come back to those in a second because that's going to be a special case. But this guy, our pack texture, now I renamed it, and I had all of you go through and rename yours to AO for ambient occlusion, R for roughness, M for metallic. Now that's because the red channel is your ambient occlusion. Your green channel is your roughness. And your blue channel is your metallic. To save memory, those black and white maps are stored in those RG and B channels separately. Here's my full color. Now, normally I would be done, and that would be it. Now this texture is a little bit different. It's a special case. So I'm going to click here where it says tarp. Now I need to change the blend mode on this to masked. And the reason is I actually have an opacity mask. So let's change our how we view this. So we'll change it to a little box, and it's going to re-render it. Now I can take my RGB from that mask and plug it into opacity mask. And then now you'll see the little frayed edges that we created on it. You see that? They're very subtle, but there they are. All right, now, if you do not have geometry for both sides of your object, you'll need to turn on two-sided. And then that will actually display the material as a two-sided material. I actually, on my objects, I actually have geometry on the other side, so I'm going to turn that off from mine. I'm going to save this now. All right, so it's going to save that. It's saving this material. Okay, and so now I have a material for my tarp. I need to bring in the material for the post. So let's do import. I'm going to come up here to post. Let's find the post, which only has 3 textures, and we'll open those up. Now remember the pack texture, we have to open up, turn off sRGB, and hit save. Close that. Now, I'm going to right click, say new material. This will be M underscore post. And I'm going to double click to open that up. that over to the side. I'm going to bring in the pack texture, the base color, and the normal. And I'm just going to organize these. So let's see, there's my normal. So remember, normal is full color. He gets plugged in. RGB. We need all three of those channels working, right? For the base color, all three. RGB works for the normal. It's only these special case ones, right? These pack textures. We're got to take that red one goes ambient occlusion. And the green one goes roughness. And the blue one goes metallic. Right? The main settings here, they all stay the same. And so we're going to hit save. And then we're going to close this. Takes a little bit. It's got to save it to your hard drive. So now we have two materials. We have a model. So I'm going to double click on my model here. And just kind of hover this over to the side. So now, on my model, right click to kind of orbit. If you hit F, it'll kind of focus it in the middle. Now over here, I have similar options I have to the side. Now you could, inside the map, go ahead and set your materials, but you really want to do it, I believe, personally, you want to do it in the content browser, because then they'll be set for every time you use it. So you can just click and you can drag this in. And you see that went to the wrong one. So you could just hit reset to default. There's actually a highlight button. And then if you come over and select, you can use the little arrow to assign selected. Same thing here with the post, assign him over. And that's it, right? That's as simple as it is. If I hit save, and now I close this, now I have my asset, and it's inside there. So you'll want to save all these, right? Save all these files here, and you're going to want to bring them all in. Okay. Say, for example, we have another item that I think we'll save that for another tutorial. This is just the most basic way to bring stuff in. Use this process, bring in some of those other items that we made and we ran through Substance. You'll have shields and swords and different items like that. Go ahead and bring those in. The one thing you want to remember is when you're done, save down here, but also do save current. That's going to save your Unreal project for you as well.